This special Saturday edition of the JM Sports Show is on the air. Hello everybody, Jonathan Blazett here for JM Sports 100 and the JM Sports Show, and this is a special football edition of the JM Sports Show. This is going to be my NFL preview and my college football picks all rolled into one. This could be a long video, but, we'll see what happens. I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as I can. Let's start in the NFL, so I think that's probably what, you guys probably care about more. So, yeah, let's start there. We started the week off right with a win. Of course, the regular refs are back, and it's making me feel actually a little more comfortable with everything, including the picks. We took the Ravens straight up in the Sunday night game. We said the spread was too high, though, even the game was in Baltimore. Ravens were minus 13 at home. We said the spread was too high. The Ravens were playing their fourth game in 18 days. And we were basically right. The spread was too high. Ravens win 23-16, so we get the straight-up win and the spread win, and that improves our record on the year to 28-21, 3-27-200 lifetime, 15-19 against the spread for the year and lifetime, because it's the first year that I have picked the spread. Alright, here we go. Pretty confident about my picks this week. Let's get underway. Carolina in Atlanta. Atlanta is minus 8 at home. Here's the deal. I was high on Carolina at the beginning of the year. I said, Carolina's going to be good. They're going to be competitive. They're going to compete in the NFC South, and this is going to be their chance because it's basically just going to be them in Atlanta. I was wrong in two phases of that. I was wrong in two phases with the fact of Tampa Bay is a physical football team, and they're better than I thought they were going to be. As far as Carolina, here's the deal. Cam Newton has not gotten any better than he was last year. I figured he'd get better with a full off season. That has not happened. He still makes the stupid, I don't want to say Michael Vick-like mistakes, but he still makes the stupid mistakes. The spread is high, but have you watched Atlanta play? Atlanta's pretty good. I think Matt Ryan has definitely gotten better. Matt Ryan is one of, if not the best quarterback in the game right now. I'm going with Atlanta at home, and I'm swallowing the 8 points. So we'll see how that goes there. New England and Buffalo. Buffalo getting 3.5 at home, so plus 3.5. Let's see. What can you say? Patriots are coming off of 2 straight losses. Patriots don't lose 3 in a row very often. Buffalo is sitting 2-1. They've looked fairly impressive for with their 2 wins. Is New England going to lose 3 in a row? It could happen. Yeah, I think it could definitely happen, but I don't think it does. I don't know what it is. Something just looks different about the Patriots this year, and they're in a hole they're not used to. They're 1-2. They have a losing record, I think, for the first time in 10 years. I can't see them dropping to 1-3. It could happen in Buffalo. This could really be Buffalo's chance to make, to turn heads in the NFL and go, wow, Buffalo might actually be competing in the AFC East this year. But I don't think they're going to lose this 3 in a row. I'm going with Patriots. Obviously, going with Patriots spread-wise too. Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit is minus 6.5 at home. I said that Detroit would take a bit of a step back this year. I think they've taken a couple of steps back. I haven't liked what I've seen. They barely beat St. Louis. Now that's no dish on St. Louis because St. Louis is not that bad of a football team. But they barely beat St. Louis. They lost to Tennessee last week in what was a questionable call by Jim Schwartz to basically ended the game when they could have continued it in overtime. He either didn't know the overtime rule or he was getting way too gutsy. But either way, as far as Minnesota, another thing I whiffed on this year so far was I said that Christian Ponder would not get much better than he was. He was not a franchise quarterback. Christian Ponder has made great strides, and being in Wisconsin, I see about 99%, if not 100%, of Viking snaps in the season. I've seen every Viking snap so far this year. I've seen every one of Christian Ponder snaps so far this year, and Christian Ponder just looks better. Not saying he's better than Matt Stafford because he's not. But I think from Viking standpoint, from Christian Ponder's standpoint, he definitely looks better in his sophomore year. I'm going with the Vikings with the spread, and I'm going to go with the Vikings to, I don't know if you want to call it an upset, but to beat the Lions. I'm a little bit shaky there. They could be a little bit high off an emotional win against San Francisco, but I am going to go with the Vikings to win the game, and obviously the spread too. Spread's way too high either way. Even if the Lions do win the game, the spread I think is way too high for the Lions to cover that with the way they've been playing. San Diego and Kansas City. Kansas City is plus 0.5 at home. Basically, San Diego's got to win. Well, here's the deal. Kansas City's not that good. Okay, they beat New Orleans last week. Don't get too excited. New Orleans is probably the worst team in the league. And I'll talk more about that when we get to the New Orleans Green Bay game later on in the picks. But I don't think that Kansas City is good enough to beat San Diego. San Diego is coming off an embarrassing thumping at home at the hands of the Falcons. San Diego's not going to be happy, and I think San Diego comes into Kansas City. I'm not saying they roll because AFC West division games are always usually pretty close and pretty tough. So I don't think San Diego rolls, but I do think San Diego wins. Give me them for the spread too, obviously. Seattle and St. Louis plus 2.5 is what St. Louis is getting in St. Louis. Alright. Of course, it's been a big week for Seattle. It's been an interesting week for Seattle. Of course, they're at the front of controversy after what happened on Monday night against Packers. What can you say? I think Seattle's going to be too high. I think they're going to be too high. They're coming off a win that they shouldn't have gotten. St. Louis is good. St. Louis took a thumping at the hands of Chicago, but just trust me, St. Louis is good. It's in St. Louis. I like Seattle's defense. I do, okay? Seattle's defense is good. I like Seattle's defense. But I'm going to go with St. Louis to pull off the upset, I guess you'd call it, in St. Louis. San Francisco and the New York Jets. This was Colin Cowherd from ESPN Radio. This was his favorite bet on the board this weekend. It's mine too. I saw it yesterday morning, and I looked, and I had to look 2 or 3 times. Like, this is just too good. San Francisco and the New York Jets. Jets are plus 3.5 in New York. Here's the situation. Okay, Mark Sanchez is going at me just a little bit. Just a little teeny tiny bit. Tim Tebow is not. Tim Tebow never will. San Francisco is San Francisco. I still think they're one of, if not, they're one of the best teams in football. I think they're probably the third best team in football, probably behind Atlanta and Baltimore. But I do think that they are one of the best teams in football. San Francisco did not travel back home to the West Coast this week. I believe they stayed in Youngstown, Ohio. That's where Jim Harbaugh had them to stay, which was probably smart. That was one of the things that hurt them last week against the Vikings. Everybody says, well, the Vikings beat the Niners. The Vikings are better than the Niners. Slow down there, Sparky. They're not. Here's the deal with San Francisco that everybody does not realize, okay? They had to travel from the West Coast to Green Bay in Week 1, back to the West Coast, and back to Minnesota last week. San Francisco's tired. Traveling teams don't do well in that situation. So they stayed in Ohio this week. San Francisco is not better than Minnesota. I'm sorry, San Francisco is better than Minnesota. San Francisco is better than the Jets. I'm going with the Niners to beat the Jets, and quite frankly, I think they beat them handily. That is going to be my lock of the week. We had 2 losses in a row in lock of the week, so we really need to win. Tennessee and Houston. This game was a little bit of a tough one to pick. Houston is getting a big number, minus 12.5 at home. Houston probably is the best team in the AFC. Okay. I don't think Matt Schaub losing part of his ear is really going to affect his career any, as he lost a chunk of his ear last week against the Broncos. But I don't think that's going to affect him much. Tennessee I'm not real high on them. They're 1-2. They beat Detroit. You don't want to say they beat them because of a stupid call by Lions head coach Jim Schwartz because you don't know what would have happened. But that definitely helped. And Houston, like I said, is good. It's a divisional game. I'm going to go with Houston. I'm going to swallow the 13 points. A little bit shaky there, but because it's in Houston, that's what I'm going to do. If it was in Tennessee, I don't think I'd swallow that big of a number. But I'm going to do it because the game is in Houston. I'm still not sold that Tennessee is very competitive yet. Oakland and the Denver Broncos. Broncos minus 6.5 at home. Here's the deal about Denver, guys. Everybody says, well, Peyton Manning lost everything because the Broncos are off to a stumbling start at 1-2. Listen, the Broncos' offense is young. Okay, they're a young team, and when you play with Peyton Manning, you got to be on your toes. You got to be ready to go because he's constantly calling audibles and doing everything else that Peyton Manning does. They're not ready for that. Eventually, they'll get in sync. I think their schedule definitely lightens up down the stretch later in the year. This is a divisional game, obviously, Raiders Broncos. Um, The problem that the Broncos are having is they get in the hole late and then they can't come back. It takes them forever to get going. They're having a hard time getting going at the beginning of the game. Gotta be on your toes, Peyton Manning. Well, by the middle of the game, later in the game, they're used to Peyton Manning again, and they're on their toes and they're ready. But it's too late of a deficit. The last 2 weeks, they've almost come back to beat their opponents. They almost came back to beat Atlanta in week 2, and almost came back to beat Houston last week. I think the Broncos win this game. I think the Broncos are better than the Raiders. I think the Raiders might be a little bit too high out there. Pittsburgh win. So I am going to go with the Broncos to win the game, but I think the spread is too high. I don't think they win. I don't like the Broncos as touchdown favorites. I'm going with Oakland for spread. Broncos straight up. Miami and Arizona. This was a tough one for me to pick spread wise, not straight up. Arizona, I think, beats Miami. They're 3-0. Listen, they're for real. All right, Arizona is for real. They beat Philadelphia. Not that Philadelphia is that great. I'll talk about that when we get to Philadelphia's game, the Sunday night game. But they're for real. Arizona's for real. They're at home. They're definitely better than Miami. But the one I was torn as to what to do with the spread. In fact, I'm actually going to change it as we speak. So there you go. I'm making a live change at the last minute. Arizona is a touchdown favorite at home. I'm going with Arizona to cover and win straight up. Cincinnati and Jacksonville. This spread kind of surprised me. Jacksonville is plus 1.5 in Jacksonville. Now I think that's why better, so it's plus 1. But Cincinnati, I think, is the way better team. I don't even think it's a question. Okay, I'm not saying Cincinnati's great. Cincinnati is not what they were last year, but Jacksonville is not good. The offense isn't great. The defense isn't great. Maurice Jones-Drew is Jacksonville's defense is good, not great. Maurice Jones-Drew was cooking last week for Jacksonville. Even though the game's in Jacksonville, I do like Cincinnati to win, and so obviously I'm taking them for spread too. I'm going to just put this out there. That's what it means. I think they win handily too. New Orleans and Green Bay. Green Bay is getting 8 points at home. -8. Alright. There's a lot of people that are looking at this game going, oh, Saints win. No, Saints don't win. I'll give you a couple of reasons why, and it's not just because I'm a Packer guy. That's not it at all. Let me tell you why the Packers win this game. The Packers are not pleased, okay? They can say they don't care. They can say they moved on. They didn't. The Packers are going to play very angry football. There's one thing that the Packers offense struggles with. That's dealing with the pass rush. Have you watched the Saints defense this year and even last year? They don't really have to worry about a pass rush. If Greg Williams, when he got himself in trouble, then maybe the defense would be better. Unfortunately for them, Greg Williams is not there, and that has hurt them a lot. So the Saints have no pass rush. The Saints are dumpster fire. Alright, the Saints are just an absolute dumpster fire of a football team. Alright, they're 0-3. They're not going to turn it around. I'm not saying that they're going to go 0-16 because they're not. They're going to win games at some point. But the Saints are not going to turn it around and be a 13-3 football team, 12-4 football team. Hate to tell you, Saints fans, but it's just not going to happen. Like I said, the one thing that the Packers offense struggles with is dealing with a pass rush and protecting Rodgers when there is a pass rush. Seattle gets a good pass rush. Seattle has a good defense. Here's another thing, too. Everyone's like, well, the Packers are not very good. Listen, the Packers are better than we think, and I'll tell you why. Alright, you sit there and you talk about, well, just let's do a comparison here. Who have the Packers played on defense? Okay, they played San Francisco. They struggled there. San Francisco, good defense. They played the Bears. They beat the Bears. Bears, not a bad defense. They played Seattle last week in Seattle, and basically, the replacement officials, which are gone, thank God, gave them a win, or gave them a loss, pretty much, and they played Seattle's defense, a good Seattle defense. Who have the Saints played as far as defenses? Okay, who's the best team that the Saints defense has played? Carolina? Kansas City? So just take a step back and chill a little bit. Packers win. Packers cover. Washington and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay are 3-point favorites at home. I'm going with Washington in this game. Tampa Bay is a physical football team, and I don't know that matches up well with Washington or RG3. But I do know this. If I had to pick a quarterback of the two, if you told me Josh Freeman or RG3, I'd take RG3. Listen, Josh Freeman is not a good quarterback. I said it when he came into the league. I didn't think he had a chuck. Everyone else said, yes, he does. Even ESPN guys said, yes, he does. I'm like, boy, I just don't see it. After watching some of Tampa Bay snaps this year, I still don't see it. And even the people at ESPN now are starting not to see it. There are some people saying that he is regressing, and I believe that he is regressing. I think RG3 is a better quarterback. I don't want to say that the Redskins are the better team, but I'm going with the Redskins to win. Obviously going with them for spread too. Giants and Eagles. Eagles are 3-point favorites at home. I think it's pretty obvious, to know where I'm going to go here. I'm going to go with the Giants. One thing that scares me is this is always the game the Giants struggle with. The Eagles always find a way to beat the Giants, Philadelphia. I don't know what it is, but there's just something. Here's the deal about Michael Vick, guys. He's been in the league 10 years. Can we calm down and admit that he's not as good as we think he is? He's flashy, and that's why I think he's good, because that's what diehard fans want, is they want flashy. Well, Philadelphia is flashy. Listen, he's got 3 touchdowns this year and 6 picks. Okay? Philadelphia is a good team. Here's the deal. Michael Vick still makes mistakes, and Michael Vick has a good team around him. He has weapons to work with. He has an offensive line. I don't want to say an offensive line that can protect him because he gets beat up, dinged, and bashed a lot. Michael Vick is not your franchise quarterback. Michael Vick is getting hit 7, 8, 9, 10 times a game. Eventually, later on in the year, that's going to wear on him, and we've seen that. He has a hard time staying healthy. Here's the deal. The Giants aren't flashy. They may be a boring football team to watch, but boring can be successful. Look at what the Giants have done. The Giants are a good football team. They're 2-1. They lost to Dallas. Don't look into that, too much. That loss to Dallas there. Philadelphia is 2-1 too. Give me the Giants to win. Give me obviously them with the spread too. And like I said, I'm nervous just because that's always the game that tripped up the Giants. But I'm going with the Giants. Giants definitely better football team there. Here's the deal now. Monday night game. Monday night game. Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a good game. Cowboys are 4-point favorites at home. So -4. Dallas is good. Chicago is good. I think Dallas is just a little bit better. Dallas needs, in my estimation, Dallas needs a big win. I know the Giants were a big win. They lost to Seattle, and then they beat Tampa Bay barely, but they did. I think they get it at home. Bears are 2-1. Honestly, let's look at this. Who have they beat? Not saying the Bears aren't good, because I think the Bears are a really good football team, but they beat Indy, which is expected, and they beat St. Louis, which was pretty much expected. They lost to the Packers. This will be a tough test for them. I think too tough. I've got the Cowboys winning 31-24, and I've got them covering the spread as well. I need to click this button because I changed the pick, so I need to click that so that sticks. And let's switch over to college football really quick. We are 20 minutes into this video already, so let's rip through college football picks extremely fast. We are 1-1 on the week. We took Stanford to beat Washington. That did not happen. We took BYU. I put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter for yesterday's pick. We took BYU to beat Hawaii. That happened, and that happened handily. Not much of a game there. We took a 17-13 loss on Thursday, a 47-0 win on Friday, and with the 1-1, that moved us to 223 wins, 58 losses on the year, 1,354 wins, 472 losses, the lifetime record. So that's what that looks like there. Got some interesting matchups because there's a lot of conference play that starts today. So let's take a peek at what we got, and we'll start things off with Baylor and West Virginia. Number 25 Baylor, number 9 West Virginia. Listen, this game could break the scoreboard. I don't think it's going to be a 6-3 game. It's going to definitely be one of the games that I am going to be watching. I'm going with West Virginia to beat Baylor, though. And I do have an upset, by the way, for today. Buffalo and UConn. Give me UConn. Middle Tennessee and Georgia Tech. Give me Georgia Tech. Indiana and Northwestern. Give me Northwestern. Arkansas and Texas A&M. Give me Texas A&M. Stony Brook and Army. I'm going to go with Army, but keep an eye on that game there. Penn State and Illinois. Listen, I was a little bit shaky here in this game. I'm going with Illinois just because it's at home. I'm sorry, I take that back. No, yes, actually, I am going to go with Illinois. I wrote down there for a second. I just did college picks this morning. I am going to go with Illinois to get a Penn State win there. Missouri and UCF. I'm going to go with Missouri, Minnesota, and Iowa. Give me Minnesota. Ball State and Kent State. Give me Ball State, North Carolina State, and Miami. Give me the Canes. Duke and Wake Forest. I'm going to go with Wake Forest. Nevada and Texas State. Give me Nevada, Colorado State, and Air Force. I'm going to go with Air Force, but I'm a little shaky. Miami of Ohio takes on Akron. Give me Miami of Ohio. Tulsa and UAB. I am going to go with UAB. Marshall and Purdue. I'm going to go with Purdue. Tennessee and number 5 Georgia Tech. Number 5 Georgia. I'm going with Georgia. I don't even think the game is close. I think Georgia wrote Tennessee. Number 14 Ohio State. At number 20 Michigan State. On ABC this afternoon. One of the games one of the games I will be watching. This is my upset game. I'm going to go with Michigan State. If you watched, listen, the Big Ten, and I'm going to say this, you know, the Wisconsin guy, the Big Ten is a mess. If you tried to watch them, it's atrocious, it's difficult. I'm going to go with Michigan State to upset Ohio State. Ohio State is probably the best team in the Big Ten right now, and guess what? Even watching them is bad. If you watch Ohio State play, they struggle with UAB last week. Ohio State is not good. They don't play good defense. They don't tackle well. They don't hang on to the football very well either. So I'm going to go with Michigan State to upset Ohio State. Number 17, Clemson takes on Boston College. I'm going with Clemson. Troy and South Alabama. Give me Troy. Ohio and Massachusetts. Going to go with Ohio. Idaho and North Carolina. Give me North Carolina. Rhode Island and Bowling Green. Give me Bowling Green. Houston and Rice. Give me Rice. Louisiana Tech and Virginia. Give me Louisiana Tech. I'm a little iffy there. Virginia Tech and Cincinnati. Going to go with Virginia Tech. San Jose State and Navy. Going with San Jose State. Central Michigan and Northern Illinois. Give me the Central Michigan Chippewas. Where were we at there? Louisiana Monroe and Tulane. Give me Louisiana Monroe. Arizona State and California. Give me Arizona State. North Texas and Florida Atlantic. Give me North Texas. Number 4 Florida State takes on South Florida. I'm going to go Florida State. Number 24 Boise State takes on New Mexico. Going with Boise State. UCLA and Colorado. UCLA are not going to be happy after their loss to Oregon State last week. Give me UCLA to roll a not very good Colorado team. Towson takes on number 3 LSU. Give me LSU. Number 6 South Carolina takes on Kentucky. Listen, I really like South Carolina, and not that would have, even if I didn't, not that would have swayed my pick any because Kentucky is not good. Give me South Carolina to roll Kentucky. TCU, number 15, TCU at SMU. Give me TCU. Texas Tech takes on Iowa State. I'm going to go with Iowa State there. UTEP and East Carolina. Give me East Carolina. Florida International, Louisiana Lafayette. Give me Louisiana Lafayette. Western Kentucky and Arkansas State. Give me Western Kentucky. Toledo and Western Michigan. Going with Toledo. I'm sorry, going with Western Michigan. Yeah, that's what we're going. Western Michigan. Number 12, Texas and Oklahoma State. Give me Texas. Number 19, Louisville at Southern Miss. Give me Louisville. Wisconsin. Number 22, Nebraska. I don't think there's any way that Wisconsin wins this game. I do like the new freshman quarterback. I'm interested to see how he plays in the Big Ten. So that, definitely a game I'm watching. But I don't think Wisconsin stands much of a chance. I'm going with Nebraska in that game there. UTSA and New Mexico State. I'm going to go with UTSA, shaky. UNLV at Utah State. Give me Utah State. Ole Miss at number 1, Alabama. Give me Alabama. Number 18, Oregon State and Arizona. I'm going with Oregon State. I'm a little shaky just from the standpoint of this. Arizona might not be happy. They came out flat against Oregon last week and got massacred in a game that we thought was going to break the scoreboard between the two teams. Oregon State coming off a high emotional win in UCLA against a ranked UCLA team. I am going to go with Oregon State though, but like I said, be careful of that game there. San Diego State and Fresno State. I'm going to go with San Diego State. Number 2, Oregon takes on Washington State. I don't think it's much of a test for Oregon. Washington State is not that good of a football team. Alright, that is going to do it for me. There's all my picks. It took me almost a half hour, but we were just under that. So, sorry I wasn't on this week, guys. Having a lot of problems with my cam and stuff. Got it all taken care of. We are good to go back, hopefully back on a nightly basis. Starting on Monday, this has been a special Saturday edition of the JMSports Show. I'm John Lozette for JMSports 100 and the JMSports Show. Enjoy your football, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you Monday night.